right now. I just had a package delivered and I could really use your help with it. I think you are the perfect person for this particular job. Okay. All right. Oh, I'll text you which spray. Okay, thanks. See you soon. Called you both because Cypress Grove sent me cheeses, and as much as I love cheese, I know that both of you are far more educated in this department than I am. I figured I would call you and have you bring your favorite goat cheese pairings. We would talk a little bit about misnomers about cheese and wine pairings because there's a lot of them. I mean, obviously it's an excuse to eat cheese. You're a cheese freak.
I like cheese.
Like in a really good way. And you eat cheese for dinner like once a week.
Give or take.
Approximately.
Sometimes more.
Sometimes more. I really like cheese, but I feel like I don't understand it in the way that these two do. I think we should start with the 3 types of cheeses that we have. And I texted you both what they were, so you had a proper understanding of what we were going to be doing today. So obviously there are 3 goat cheeses, all from Cypress Grove, all from California. So I'm gonna let you take the wheel as far as, cheese wheel. I'm gonna let you take the wheel as far as what kind of cheeses we're dealing with today, because though there are 3 goat cheeses, there are 3 very different types of goat cheese, and I feel like people think of goat cheese as that like dry, salty, crumbly grocery store goat cheese a lot of times and forget that there's a lot of different types of goat cheese out there.
So I will tell you that I hated goat cheese, like categorically, for the longest time, probably until like 8 years ago. And the cheese that converted me is on that plate. It's the Humboldt Fog. And it's funny, I was looking at Tia Keenan's book and I'm doing a little like...
This one?
Yeah,
cool.
It's great. And she talks about Humboldt Fog being the cheese that converts people to goat cheese. And it's like, oh yeah, I didn't realize it was so basic, but I guess so that is the cheese that convinced me that goat cheese isn't feral. And for me, I think that goats have a very like feral aroma, and it kind of turned me off for the longest time. But these are all really clean, sweet goat cheeses, and Humboldt Fog is still one of my favorites. And then I think that we have the Purple Haze, which is a fresh goat cheese with some herb, and Midnight Moon, which is a Gouda style goat cheese that is so freaking good.
Let's talk a little bit about wine and cheese pairing and some of the biggest misconceptions as far as how you should be pairing properly a wine and cheese. Now, let's also consider the fact that I think you should be drinking whatever you want with whatever you want to eat with it. I don't think that there are hard and fast rules that you should be following. Like, there have been nights where I have this great bottle of wine and a totally inappropriate dish to eat it with. But I really want to drink the wine and I really want the dish. And I think that should be prefaced before we talk about this. What we're going to be talking about are the things that we've learned, because all 3 of us are sommeliers, on how to really optimize your wine and cheese pairing. That said, classic goat cheese pairing is, ladies,
Sancerre.
Same thing.
Yep, sorry. Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay, we'll try it one more time. Ladies,
Sauvignon Blanc
from
Sancerre.
Perfect. So classic wine and cheese pairing, Sauvignon Blanc, specifically from the region of Sancerre, goes great with goat cheese. And why do you think that is? What is the thing that makes Sancerre and goat cheese like
fresh goat cheese is kind of grassy and herbaceous, and Sauvignon Blanc from Sancerre is like high acid, fresh, a little bit herbaceous. I think also there is a very classic French goat cheese called Chavignol, which comes from the same village in Sancerre that a really great Appalachian specific Sauvignon Blanc comes from. So I think just historically, people were like, oh my god, this goat cheese is so amazing, it's like nothing else, and they just had access to the most local wine, which was the Sancerre.
And it kind of plays with the notion that what grows together goes together, which is a very basic, common thing that we talk about in the wine world, meaning like you should, whatever the classic dish is in that region, a lot of times goes with the classic wines of the region.
I would just say a lot of it too, especially for goat cheese, people don't think of cheese as having a lot of acid because it's creamy and it's salty. But the biggest mistake I guess you can make is having sort of a really soupy, low acid wine with cheese, and that's what makes Sancerre so great. It has that acidity where it matches. They're not butting heads with one another.
And actually that's a good segue because I do want to talk about another misnomer. Red wine and cheese are actually not the best pairing. It's kind of a, not a, I hate saying no, but like red wine and cheese kind of sucks. I'll let one of you take it from here.
I have learned that it is just, it's one of those things, it's not even a question, it's you don't pair red wine with cheese.
Red wine and cheese doesn't work because of the tannin structure.
Tannins go with animal fat, acidity goes with milk fat. So if it's a dish that's predominantly butter, cream, cheese, I want a wine that's really high in acidity and like driving force behind the wine. You can drink whatever you want. You can finish your glass of Burgundy or Cabernet or Syrah with your cheese, but if the purpose of the cheese plate is to be paired, I would pair something with great acidity.
Got it.
I think it should be said too, not many people associate Sancerre with red wine, but they do make a very small amount of it. So if you're dying to have a red wine with your goat cheese, that would be a good place to go.
Pinot Noir, low.
Exactly. Pinot Noir is low tannin, and what grows together goes together.
Right. Okay. You brought.
Okay, so this is my poor man's Burgundy. Wines from the Jura are usually like half the price of Chardonnay from Burgundy or Pinot Noir from Burgundy. This is not Chardonnay, it is Sauvignon. There are so many reasons why I love white wines from the Jura with cheese, any kind of cheese. I will try to make it like simple. There's a wine that's made in the Jura that is made through this process that makes it very similar to sherry. So it's a very oxidized, nutty wine that is really nice with cheese, like that. Those nutty characteristics are great with dried cheeses, usually with Comté, which comes from that region. We don't have Comté. I'm sorry that I didn't bring. I could have also picked up some great Sauvignon from Benica, which is a Sauvignon from Friuli. Yeah, which would have been cool, but I didn't. I brought the Sauvignon. And this is made by a producer who I've never tried. I've never tried wines from this woman, so I'm really excited to try it. She's located in Chateau Chalon, which is a sub-region of Jura that's known for this really nutty, oxidative wine. There's another place called Étoile that's known for this, where if you put that on the label, it's going to be like sherry. If you don't have a lot of experience with wines from the Jura, you should be hesitant about the producer that you're buying, because unless you know what village they're located in, you can't be sure that you're getting a fresh, vibrant, youthful wine, or if that wine's gonna taste like sherry. And it can be really off-putting if you don't like sherry, and it's totally understandable. If the producer's located in Chateau Chalon or Étoile, you can guess that some of their Côte de Jura wines are gonna have some of those oxidative characteristics, just because not every wine that is intended to be a Chateau Chalon or an Étoile actually makes it through the process. So you have to find a way to sell that wine and package it. We'll see. Again, I could be totally wrong. This could be fresh and citrusy. and not nutty.
You went classic.
Very classic. So Domaine Vacheron is sort of one of the benchmark wines of Sancerre. This is a wine that I've had a few times, but I've never had the single vineyard, so really excited to try that and see how it changes it.
I'm excited to try this. I have often talked about Vacheron. It's a little bit, I wouldn't say it's difficult to find, but it's not everywhere. In fact, none of these wines are going to be everywhere, and that's kind of the beauty of what we're doing. We're really talking about some obscure wines that make for very interesting pairings, and I think as long as you stick to general regions, general varietals, you can have a lot of fun experimenting with why certain wines would work with these cheeses better than others. And that said, I, knowing that these girls were going to overworld on me, decided that I wanted to try these cheeses because they are California cheeses, not French cheeses, with a California Sauvignon Blanc made in a slightly more old world style. So this is Turnbull Sauvignon Blanc, the Josephine 2016. Really great producer. Peter Heitz is the winemaker there, and all the fruit is estate. It's all coming from Oakville, so really high quality Sauvignon Blanc. So it should be a little bit more Bordeaux in style versus Loire in style, but time will tell, and we will open the bottle and see how they do. So ladies, prepare your weapons and let's dive in.
I think we should try each cheese with each of the wines. I think for educational purposes, it'd be really interesting to see why they go best with them. And smelling these wines, I don't know what vintage we have with the Vacheron, but it's quite rich. 15, yeah. So it actually smells quite rich and honeyed, and it's far less grassy than the Turnbull. On the nose, the Turnbull is grassier and more herbaceous, and I think that both of them are going to pair nicely, and I think it'd be cool to try both of them with the fresh cheese.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this is definitely
so stinky.
A Chateau Chalon Côte de Jura. Like, I have yet to find a Côte de Jura from a producer in Chateau Chalon that doesn't smell like sherry.
Wow. That is unusual. It's so interesting that Vacheron has so much ripeness on the nose, and on the palate just like racing acidity.
Mm-hmm. But still really ripe fruit.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's gonna be, try it with the cheese. I'm so excited. Like, I'm really, it is exactly what I was hoping it would be.
Some of the theories that we've applied have worked, some have been surprising, and some are very interesting. So, first thoughts, ladies. This is like the most serious wine tasting.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we're all
sitting
up really straight.
First thoughts on the cheese pairing.
First thought is that the Sancerre is really ripe. This is a really ripe vintage, and it's a really ripe wine, and it may not be as classic, and so our interpretation of this pairing might be different if it were the simpler Sancerre rather than the more concentrated single vineyard Sancerre.
100%.
Which means that you can spend less money.
Yeah.
And be really happy.
Well, and that's the thing, like, I usually only buy the $23, $24 Vacheron, the regular Vacheron, but they only had the single vineyard at Sunshine, which is very good.
To try.
We were curious to try, and it's very good, but like you were just saying, 2015 is a more ripe vintage in the Loire, meaning the fruit is riper. It's got a little bit more sweetness to it, so though there is really great acidity, it doesn't quite match what's going on in the cheese right now. So it's making it a less appealing pairing than the other two. So
The
Turnbull's awesome.
Yeah, the Turnbull's
I'm
great.
really impressed with the Turnbull. And the Jura is freaking cool.
I like the Jura.
I think it's really cool, especially with the purple haze. I think it's like that, the savoriness of that cheese, because it's got all of those herbs and the lavender. That Jura is incredibly savory. There is not like even the most slight hint of ripeness in that wine, which I kind of love. It's like the most savory wine. It's almost like a meal into itself. So I think winner for the Humboldt Fog thus far,
the Jura, but my favorite with the purple haze is the Turnbull.
Oh, you were reversed.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
interesting.
reversed.
Okay.
I'm reversed as well.
Oh.
My favorite with the Humboldt Fog was the Jura, And my favorite with the purple haze was actually the Vacheron. I thought that was the one that it worked well with.
Oh yeah, it kind of has that like sweet,
it has that like
savory thing.
lavender quality to it as well. So
Yeah.
it picks up on those more honeyed notes
revisit this.
in the Vacheron.
Also, Julie, CIA trained somm, not the government one, but the culinary one.
Are you sure?
Very.
You could do some great undercover.
You'd make a great CIA agent.
Because I
You
missed
could-
stone face, yeah.
No, you're like the Olivia Pope of the wine world. You could be like on Scandal.
Great, perfect. Thank you.
Welcome. This is devolving quickly. We need to wrap this up.
Let's go.
Yes, CIA trained somm, Culinary Institute of America, not the government official. Maybe, we don't know. What did you tell us about wine and cheese pairing that neither of us knew?
Yeah. So this isn't strictly to wine and cheese. The way I learned food pairings is that you can either have food pairings that complement one another with the wine or contrast. But if you're looking to complement when it comes to the acidity pairing, you always want the wine to be at a higher acidity than the food that you're pairing it with. Otherwise the wine's gonna fall flat on your palate. And I think this has sort of, at least for me, reinforced that idea, because with the more acid-driven cheeses, things like the Vacheron, which we've discussed as a riper vintage, is falling kind of flat for me.
How do you gauge that?
I sip first, eat, and then sip again. The reason to do that is sort of it calibrates your palate to what the wine acidity is going to be, and then you add the food on top of it and then hit it with wine again. So you can really get the full spectrum of what that.
One of my biggest pet peeves that people do, I don't know if it's your pet peeve too, when I go to taste people
And they
on
drink a sip of water?
Yes.
Yes.
Drives me don't do that.
Like you're screwing up
really
the entire
just-
pH
I
of
know.
your mouth.
I'm like, please don't do it, please don't do it.
Hey, not
Like,
that,
wait, I've just had bread, so let me drink some water to clear my
don't do
palate.
that. Leave
No.
the bread. So, like a really important thing to keep in mind is your palate is always trying to maintain neutral. So every water has a different pH level. So as soon as that hits your mouth is going to try to overcompensate for that, whether it's over salivating or trying to dry it out a little bit more. And the wine is then going to be compensating even more. So if you've got a water with a different pH than the wine, then you're maybe going to perceive the wine as either being higher acid or lower acid than it really is. So whatever you're eating currently in your meal, and I'm tasting on a wine, keep that in your mouth. Unless it's like a spicy jalapeno or something
Yeah,
like
but
that.
if it's spicy jalapeno, the water's just gonna like
Right.
Exactly.
spread that all
So
over
the
your
best
palate.
the best thing you can do is grab a piece of bread, chew it up, swallow it, take a couple breaths, and then taste the wine. Do not take a sip of water.
Or just don't think too much about it and smell it and taste it.
Also that.
Like,
On that note, if you do think you're doing it wrong, I've created a 5-part mini-series. If you are somebody at a restaurant that is unsure of what to do when, how to order a bottle of wine, how to talk to the somm, and then how to accept that bottle, I've created a free 5-part mini course. You watched it. I don't think you watched it yet. No, it exists. It's linked below, and it's fast and it's easy and it's free. You just click on the link and you get it. But it's just a little bit more in depth on these things that we're talking about right now, as far as like, don't overthink it. It's not that serious. It's just
you
wine.
watch it, I'm gonna watch it too.
Watch it. I'll send you the link. It's free. Back to the wine. So you are Team Jura when it comes to
Humboldt
Fog. Okay, I might revisit that because I don't know if I feel the same way.
And I'm
Should we
team
do some-
Vacheron when it comes to purple haze.
I think we need to do a little bit about Midnight Moon, and I might need to revisit the purple haze. But
Yeah, let's take a break. Yeah, we haven't even hit the Midnight Moon yet. So, Midnight Moon?
I think I also want to do
Cheese.
Humboldt Fog with some honey. I think that'll be really good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I eat Humboldt Fog pretty regularly because it's not that expensive at the Oxbow cheese shop. Well, to be honest,
Julie, I
it's
love
cheap.
you.
It's
And
the best
I
bang for
always
your buck.
pair it with honey.
Yeah.
That's like the
Yeah.
only, I don't eat honey in any other capacity unless it's with cheese.
I put it in my coffee when I'm out of maple syrup.
You put maple syrup in your coffee? Who are you, Buddy the Elf?
Maybe. I don't know who that
Wait.
is, but yeah, it's a great.
What are you talking
about?
You've never seen Elf? No. What?
I know.
We're recognized immediately.
Yeah.
You've never seen Elf?
That's a
Is it
problem.
a-
Buddy
is
the
it on
Elf, let's
Netflix?
take a color.
It'll be on TBS every single night for the next.
All right. we're going Jura to Midnight Moon. Is that what's happening?
I'm gonna try all three of them.
Yeah, why not? Sipping. Oddly, the Jura does not, like, it pairs, it complements well, but it doesn't do anything for either.
When I took the first sip of the Jura and then ate the cheese, that was really pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
But when I took a second sip of Jura, it was not great after having had the cheese.
No, it makes it funkier.
Yeah.
Really liked where the pairing was going, and then I took the second sip and it...
The Turnbull is kicking ass right now. It's got such great minerality. It doesn't quite have enough to finish that cheese, but it's really close, which makes me think that maybe a white Bordeaux might be the proper pairing for that.
I think I'm liking the Vacheron.
I haven't gotten there yet. Ooh, the Sancerre is awesome with that cheese.
It's fantastic with it.
It's really good.
It makes it creamy.
Mm-hmm.
The acidity isn't too much. It's a seamless transition
Totally.
from cheese into wine.
Yep.
Yeah, the Turnbull gets really, really close, but it doesn't have like the lasting finish.
It's too thin for
It
it.
doesn't clean it up. With a perfect pairing when it comes to food and wine, you're looking for the wine to not only complement the flavors, the elements, the textures that are going on with the food, but you're also looking for it to like clean up that your whole palate for you to refresh and restart to go to the next bite. And that's what the Sancerre has that the Turnbull does not. 3 girls getting drunk on wine and cheese.
Happy Sunday!
It's Sunday. We're so classy.
Sunday fun day!
Yeah, I was about to say, it's Sunday fun day.
We should talk about Sauvignon Blanc based dessert wines that would
Yeah.
be great with this.
Absolutely.
Which are dessert wines from Loire or Sauternes or any like Montbazillac, which is a little more affordable, but also Sauvignon Blanc based from Bordeaux, like the Bordeaux region.
There are Napa ones too.
There actually there's some really.
Yeah.
Do you remember you had the Fore family, right?
I love
No.
the Fore family.
We have it by the glass. The Fore family late harvest Sauvignon Blanc is
I
excellent.
do need to try that.
It's really, really
But they
good.
aren't ever making that again.
What do you mean?
09 is the only vintage of it. Because it was a perfect storm because of where their vineyard is in Carneros near the marshland. They had naturally occurring botrytis that year because 09, like for vintage conditions, was relatively wet. And they had naturally occurring botrytis and they haven't made a vintage of it since.
Huh.
That's why we have so much of the 09 because we
my
weren't
gosh.
anticipating more vintages arriving.
I had no idea.
If you look
interesting.
it up, that is the only vintage of it that exists.
Ooh. Okay, so we have this wine called Fore Family, Fore, Fore from Carneros, and it's a late harvest Sauvignon Blanc, 2009. And apparently it's the only vintage that's made. What?
I mean, as of now, if stars
unless
align
something
again,
else.
and
I mean, it's not going to happen this vintage.
right,
It will be wet another year
yeah, so
At
it could
harvest.
come back, yeah.
in Carneros.
So,
When? We don't know.
When,
I
don't
mean,
know.
debatable with global warming.
Actually, in
That's
theory,
another
this
topic.
could have been a really good vintage for it if we had not had
Yeah.
the problems that we had.
Yeah.
Now that we are sufficiently hydrated and full on dairy, what are your thoughts? What do you feel like paired best with what? Do you feel like you were surprised by anything?
So, even though Vacheron's from the riper vintage, I still liked it best with 2 out of 3 cheeses, which makes me believe further in what grows together goes together. That said, all of the wines had really good merits with individual cheeses as well. Just 2 out of 3 for me. It makes it a clear winner.
Which do?
Purple Haze and Midnight Moon.
Okay.
I'm surprised that I like the Jura with the Humboldt Fog. I thought it was going to be too acidic and creamy for me to enjoy the Jura with it. I thought that was going to go better with the Midnight Moon, but the Midnight Moon isn't as nutty as I had expected. So I preferred the Turnbull, fresh, grassy style with the fresh young cheese, the Jura wine with the Humboldt Fog, and I loved the richness of the Vacheron with the Midnight Moon.
Totally agree.
And also, I think that the honey complemented all of the cheeses. All of these cheeses are really acidic, and that sweetness of the honey really, I think, brought out a lot of flavor.
Even with the wine, you liked it?
Yeah, and I actually think that I did more of the wine.
I think by a landslide, the best pairing was the Vacheron and the Midnight Moon. I thought that was like the most
amazing.
complete, beautiful, clean, complementary pairing where it highlighted all of the beautiful attributes of the cheese, the wine, and then it left your palate feeling like ready to go again. I thought the Jura was really interesting with the Humboldt Fog. I don't know perfect pairing, like really interesting and a very unique wine. And then I really loved the freshness of the TURNBULL, like you were saying, with the grassiness of the Purple Haze. So yeah, I think that was really kind of fun. I think we should do this more often. If you think we should do this more often, comment below. And like I said, whatever you choose to pair with cheese or food or whatever, don't ever let rules define you. Don't ever feel like you are restricted by what we're talking about here. Do whatever makes you happy. But these are just some things that we've learned that we think are awesome and think that you guys would enjoy too. And we're just 3 girls in a Sunday eating cheese and drinking wine. It's pretty awesome. If you want to see a little bit more of our festivities and more cheese pairings and more of these two lovely ladies, be sure to hit subscribe. And then of course, I always put up Instagram stories of more things always on Instagram stories. So make sure you are following me on Instagram at SOMMVIVANT. And of course, if you liked this delicious cheese video, which you liked it, I liked it, you liked it, hit like. And if you really want to check out that 5-part miniseries, make sure you hit the link below. Other than that, we're going to continue eating and drinking on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye! Say bye.
Bye.
Bye!